Well, good day and welcome back to another one. My name's Mike. Thank you for clicking on my ugly mug. I'm going to review the State of Origin Game 1. This is the biggest night in Rugby League for the year. I say that because sometimes if Game 3 is a dead rubber, there's not much going for it. But if Game 3 is the decider, then you'd probably argue that is the biggest night in Rugby League for the year. Anyway, something to get excited about. Game 1, 2024, State of Origin. There is a lot going on for this one. I think the main talking point for State of Origin this year is the amount of injuries or what players are not going to be in the game. Unfortunately, taking away a little bit maybe of the prestige of the event, shall we say. So why don't we start with the injuries? Start with the people that aren't in the game. For Queensland, they've got a slightly shorter list, but Cameron Munster, Thomas Flegler, Kalen Ponga, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, and then Kirk Capewell perhaps. He was probably a fringe option anyway, but he's unavailable too, but named this week. But anyway, so some pretty big names there. And then for the Blues, Nathan Cleary, probably the biggest player not there. Dylan Edwards, of course, just missing out this week. James Tedesco's come in for him last minute, so we'll talk about the teams in a minute. Liam Martin, Cameron Murray, and Tom Trebojevic. So quite a long list of names there. In terms of recent form and how last series went, or how previous series, Queensland have won the last two series most recently, and then don't forget Game 1 last year in Adelaide. Queensland really weren't given much of a chance. I think they had quite a few injuries as well in that sense, but weren't given much of a chance to win. But I just remember Cameron Munster putting on a hell of a match-winning performance there, and one of his best games of all time, really stepping up, and that sort of set the tone, being at the neutral ground in Game 1. Game 2 was in Queensland, Suncorp Stadium. Queensland winning that game comfortably, and then New South Wales winning Game 3. It's really hard to get a clean sweep, but anyway, so yeah, that was last year. Queensland have won the last two series, as I said, but yeah, winning Game 1 is absolutely... Well, it's quite key. I wouldn't say it's key. It's not everything, but it's pretty important to winning the series, actually. As we all know, 31 of 42 series has gone to the team that wins first game. So in this case, Game 1 is at Accor Stadium in Sydney. So you'd have to give advantage to New South Wales in that sense. Although Queensland have won the last three series openers in New South Wales, and that was in 2015, 2016 and 2022, most recently, only a couple of seasons ago. Typically, it's a 2-1 result. The last clean sweep was in 2010. So I think based on, the general gist of the game and the teams and everything this year, I think I'm just hoping for a decider in Brisbane. So we've got Game 1 in New South Wales, as I said. We've got Game 2 at the MCG in Melbourne, which will be great. I didn't look up the last results at the MCG, but so Game 2 in a neutral venue at the MCG, which will be absolutely incredible, and then Game 3, the decider. We'll see if it's the decider, but Game 3 will be back in Brisbane. So there we go. So in terms of team lists, that's probably where we should spend most of our time, with the biggest news being James Tedesco coming back into the side because Dylan Edwards has injured himself during training on Saturday. Don't know all the details of that, but James Tedesco getting a call up. Now, if you were to ask me, I probably would have stuck with James Tedesco, especially with Nathan Cleary being out and just quite a few changes in the team. James Tedesco obviously been captain in most recent years. Probably would have, and he been in such good form this year, I would have probably started with him anyway. The fact is, James Tedesco's got a hell of a point to prove. I think it's the right choice in the end, not that it was really a choice, it was a forced choice. So I'm looking forward to sort of see how he goes there, especially at home in Sydney. Brian To'o on one wing and Zach Lomax on the other. To'o, that was just a given. He has been an absolute tackle bust machine this year, and that place, his position in the team was absolutely locked up. Zach Lomax, I think he's been one of the most informed players. He's had a lot to play for this year in terms of his future, but he's a big body, and he's got quite a lot of skills to be good under the high ball. Josh Adokar, I would like to have seen him myself, but of course he's been in and out with injury, and he is currently injured again, but he's been playing pretty well. So anyway, I think Zach Lomax is probably a fair choice. Stephen Crichton and Suali'i, I think that's probably the way it was expected. Certainly Stephen Crichton was a given. Suali'i, I'm not too sure about that honestly, but especially with his moving to rugby union next year. But you can't go wrong. Two pretty big, tall, quick players with good skill. They complement each other, I would say. Certainly Stephen Crichton working with To'o. I think that's and working with Luai, I think that's a pretty fair combination there. Certainly Stephen Crichton and Luai on that edge. But Suali'i, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Crichton's played in grand finals. He's played in State of Origins. He's tested in that arena. Suali'i will be on debut, so that will be an interesting thing for him, whether he can step up or not. And then at 5'8", this was a huge debate earlier in the year, but Jerome Luai has got that spot pretty much because Nathan Cleary didn't end up. Nathan Cleary's going to miss most of the season, certainly all of Origin. So Nico Hines gets number 7, and that was a clear choice for mine, certainly with Nathan Cleary being out, but I feel like the better combination or the best result would have been for Nathan Cleary and Nico Hines to be starting together, which we'll see at some point, but I felt like that was the way. I think we're all hanging out to see that. But anyway, Nico Hines has been under a bit of an injury cloud, and he's not been named to play for the Sharks this weekend. I think they'll want to rest him after this game, tomorrow night. Jerome Luai, going back to him, he's been playing pretty well this year, hasn't he? Certainly he stepped up when Nathan Cleary got injured, and seems like a pretty natural choice now that we've seen him take on that leadership role, playmaker role in particular. He's been in this arena before, hasn't he? So, nothing unfamiliar. He's been in a team that's won 3 grand finals in a row. Of course, Queensland winning the last 2 series. So, New South Wales has got a lot to play for. Jerome Luai, I would argue, has as well. He's certainly playing for his position in the side, maybe next year, but certainly for the next 2 games. And then we move to the forward pack. We'll start in the front row. We've got Jake Trbojevic, no surprise there, but he is captain, so I don't think everybody saw that coming. I think it's a solid choice. He's going to play big minutes. He's going to lead from the front, and I think he will get the respect of the men around him. And they'll follow. So, look, I think that's a wise choice. Isaiah Yeo, they could have done that as well. They haven't started. He's not starting, but Jake Trbojevic, it makes sense to me. He is starting prop, and that is relatively normal for him in the last few years in State of Origin level. Reece Robson, hooker. Damien Cook. It was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to make it this year. He's a bit out of form. And Coruscant was another pretty good option. Certainly, I'd argue Coruscant's the best attacking hooker at the moment. but Coruscant offers so much as well. Like he was there with the Panthers when they winning a grand final, so he knows how to defend and play big minutes as well. So I don't know, that was a big call as well. I probably would have gone with Coruscant myself, but Reece Robson is pretty solid, and a lot of the Queensland players are his Cowboys teammates. So that is a proper mate against mate scenario. Payne Haas, well, obvious choice at prop there. He's had his own little injury challenges over the last month or so, but I think based on his last outing for the Broncos, he is back to full fitness and he should play big minutes, I would say. Angus Crichton manages to come back in the side. He's come a long way back from New South Wales Cup. Obviously he's had his, it's been well documented that he's had his challenges, and for me to see a person going through, and we don't know all the details, but certainly going through something, to come back and play as he has this year, he has been a big reason why that Roosters side is much better this year compared to last year. And I think he is totally Origin level and Origin capable, and I am looking forward to sort of seeing him in combination with the other players around him. So yeah, look, I just think that was a reasonably obvious choice as well. Liam Martin, did I say Liam Martin was out injured? Let me just double check. I did. Well, Liam Martin is not injured. He's been named in the side. He's still in the casualty ward list. But again, pretty obvious choice. He's been the incumbent in that position, and he's very solid at Origin level. Hudson Young or otherwise, I think there was a few other guys, but of course Hudson Young's on the bench anyway. But Olakau'atu's on the bench. But yeah, look, I mean, you'd have to give those two men the starting edge spots. And then Cameron McInnes at lock, which I think's about, I mean, that probably was one of the other talking points with Isaiah Yeo and, of course, Cameron Murray being out. Yep, McInnes is going to play massive minutes. He's going to be solid in the middle. He's going to have a massive work rate. And I think that it's pretty clear that it's going to be less about his ball playing ability. Isaiah Yeo can come on and sort of offer that. But yeah, Cameron McInnes will get through a ton of tackles and I guess make the load a little bit easier for all the other men around him. So I don't mind that at all. And then in terms of New South Wales bench, like I said, Isaiah Yeo's there. That's solid as he's got to be in the team somewhere. He would be one of the first men picked, even though he's on the bench. Olakau'atu will be on debut. I don't mind him. For me, it's been really about Angus Crichton, and Olakau'atu is the best edge players going around at the moment. Liam Martin's been in and out with injuries, so you have to discount him there. Hudson Young's been pretty good and solid for the Raiders, scoring a few tries actually, so he could come in and make a bit of impact, and he knows his way to the line if he can get one-on-one with a half. And then Spencer Leniu. Oh man, I don't know. Very volatile customer. Maybe that's why he got picked for Origin. He's definitely going to add a bit of grit, and he's going to be fired up. He will definitely get under the skin of the Queenslanders, and maybe that's what they're looking for. So you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to be physical, but also he is going to be very aggressive. And maybe that's what the Blues have been lacking a little bit, although Hudson Young can bring a bit of that, Liam Martin can bring a bit of that. So, but yeah, no one can bring it like Spencer Leniu. So I'm pretty keen to see that, but it wouldn't have been my natural pick. But yeah, look, I think that's exciting to look forward to anyway. And then 18th man is Matt Burden. He could easily have got the 5/8 role, or for me, maybe I would have probably put Matt Burden at centre instead of Suali'i, just because I just feel like you've got to have Matt Burton's bomb. He gets under the people's skin. He's had experience at this level and at centre at this level. So either way, let's just see there. But anyway, Luke Keary's in the reserves there, and Mitch Barnett, which was a hell of a story for Mitch Barnett, and I don't think he would look out of place in any position in that New South Wales side. So he'll be better off for it. and the Warriors will be better off for Mitch Barnett being in this environment. He'll come back with a ton of confidence. Let's hope the Blues win. That just will help, well, in my biased opinion, but certainly for Mitch Barnett's sake, that would boost him quite a bit. So huge result for him. I feel like the team's pretty solid. There wouldn't be a heck of a lot of other changes I'd make there, other than what I've sort of just covered off. Anyway, so moving on to Queensland, let's start with number 1, Reece Walsh. Well, that was a pretty clear and obvious choice. The man is in form. Well, the kid, he's still growing up, but he has played at this level as well. He's got a very mature head on him in the sense of playing at this level, shall we say. I think with Kalen Ponga out, there was no real other choice. That was pretty obvious. Then we've got Xavier Coates. I mean, what an athlete. Under the high ball, speed, big body, pretty obvious choice. He's been in form as well. And then you've got Murray Taulagi. I do like him a lot. He hasn't been talked about a heck of a lot, but he came back after injury, scoring 2 tries for North Queensland, who have been struggling. Pretty obvious choice there for me. I think his partnership or combination with Tabuai-Fidow or Valentine Holmes, I haven't worked out what side, but he's played with both of them before. I think he offers a bit, and of course with Tom Dearden too. So if they line Tom Dearden up, Valentine Holmes and Taulagi up, that's a pretty solid edge side, especially if Nene's in that mix as well. Valentine Holmes, yeah, obvious choice. Yeah, no question there. I think he's one of the best centres in the competition this year, quite comfortably, and has been proven at this level. So there's not much to say in terms of who else could have, potentially competed for that spot. Tabuai-Fidow, he's the incumbent, I think, at the moment on the other centre. He's been injured a little bit, but I think he's had enough game time. We'll see, but maybe enough game time. And Tabuai-Fidow, I mean, the talking point was it last year or the year before? Certainly, anyway, when he first came into the Queensland side at centre, he was one of the biggest talking points. And to be fair to him, he absolutely nailed it. I especially on defence, which is, I think, where most people would have had that question mark. So anyway, but if you've got a man with his speed anywhere in the mix, you have to be very careful, because he can pounce and it's very difficult to catch, especially without Josh Adokar. I mean, I don't think the Blues team has the pace. Probably the pace that Queensland have with Xavier Coates, Holmes and Tabuai-Fidow. Anyway, Tom Dearden at 5'8", he comes in for Cameron Munster. That was reasonably predictable there. He has played at this level before and done admirably. He does Origin-like things, and he's a competitor to the very end. The only other option they could have done there, perhaps, is gone Ben Hunt into one of the half positions and Harry Grant starting, which may have been better, but I don't mind Tommy Dearden. I think he, like I was talking about in terms of the Cowboys combinations, if he links up with them, then I think that just offers quite a nice mix. Daly Cherry Evans, of course, captain. So the two captains are from the Seagulls, Jake Trebojevic and Daly Cherry Evans. I love that. That adds just a little bit of something to the story as well, or to the narrative. Daly Cherry Evans getting on in years, but if you looked at some of the other players playing around his age at the moment, the likes of... I don't want to single people out, but, Adam Reynolds, Sean Johnson, in terms of half positions, Daly Cherry Evans plays week in, week out at club level. He is an absolute tough nut, but professional, and will just play massive minutes. I mean, it's likely he'll play State of Origin and then back up the week after. I mean, certainly a seasoned campaigner and performer. Probably not his best year in terms of performances or stats, but I think he's sort of I feel like he's just sort of taken a step back in terms of being involved as much as he normally would be with the guy like Luke Brooks, who's been around for a long time at the Seagulls. So personally, I think that of course it was a no-brainer he was going to be playing this game, but worth making note of a few of those points. Yeah, he's not going to let you down at all, is he? And he could be the difference maker in this one. He knows what it takes. He's been around long enough, or almost longer than anyone. Let's move to the forward pack for Queensland. You've got Ruben Cotter starting prop. That's been pretty typical for him the last few years. He tends to get through a lot of minutes as well. If there's an injury, he can go to 80 minutes in or around the middle. No question there. Ben Hunt at hooker. He's been the incumbent there for a long time, and I do like the Harry Grant coming off the bench, adding some impact. Impact is quite important for State of Origin, as you can appreciate. Certainly for the first 20 minutes, it's going to be very close. So Ben Hunt will go in, provide some solid, game structure. And where was no real surprise that he was going to be starting hooker. Lindsay Collins at 10, so the other prop from the Roosters, playing against some of his Roosters teammates. He's been the incumbent there as well, although Flegler could have either been starting or off the bench. But anyway, so Lindsay Collins, he knows what it takes. He's a State of Origin style type player. He's very physical, so he will add a lot. There was no debate he would be there. And then we had Nene there on one edge and Jaden Sewer on the other. I think Sewer has had one of his best years for a while, certainly since he played at the Broncos. But I don't know if everyone saw that coming, but I like it. You've got Kaufusi on the bench. You've got Hopgood that can play edge. And of course, Piakura is in the extended squad for Queensland. But yeah, I would start with Jaden Sewer. I think he's very solid. He hits hard, and so he can fit that style of origin. I think with the amount of the work rate that the other middle forwards can handle, it will free him up to make impact from the edge. Nene, I mean, he's been there for a while. He'll be good under the high ball. He's got some good attacking stats, but we've seen him make some good defensive plays too, and probably more so this year. But yeah, I think he's still got plenty to offer there. Such a young guy. And then Pat Carrigan at lock, no-brainer there, no question there. And being one of the form locks in the competition this year. Hardly work. There's no other person that would take that spot, and he'll get through a mountain of work. I'm sure he'll be looking forward to coming up against his teammate Payne Haas. That will be a matchup we'll all enjoy. And then on the bench, we've got Harry Grant, of course, probably the best hooker in the game. And it's crazy that he's on the bench, but that is the reality. So he is the best hooker in the game coming from the bench, but certainly he can provide impact. And then Fotuaika, he's made, although probably not been in his best form, he has played Origin before, and certainly with a couple of injuries there with Flegler and Big Tino, pretty obvious choice. And then Jermaine Hopgood, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. He's an absolute class player, gets through a ton of work, can play edge or in the middle, being the only consistent performer in the Eels pretty much, with Mitchell Moses and Gutherson out, and the Eels have been struggling. He's been pretty solid and consistent all the way through. And a pretty obvious choice. I really like that one. Probably could have made it last year, but certainly maybe an injury or two has allowed that to happen this year, but it was a matter of time. And then Selwyn Cobbo at 17. I kind of feel like they'll probably change that before kickoff. Billy Slater might mix that up, but they've got a plan there. So yeah, I don't know if there's an injury or as the forwards in the middle get tired, they will run out of options if they've got Cobbo on the bench and Grant. But certainly Cobbo, being a big body, provides a lot of impact, can play centre, wing or fullback, so can pretty much cover most backline positions. There's some good things in there as well, but but we'll see. We'll see what they do there. And then Felice Kaufusi, who's played at Origin level a ton, he's an 18th man. Then you got Brendan Piakora at 19th man, and Ezra Mam. So a bit of exposure for these young guys coming through. Piakora, I don't think he's there yet, but it's one of those things. Certainly Queensland does it better than New South Wales, in my opinion. But if they've got a guy that's coming in on debut, and you sort of think, oh shit, they haven't really done enough at NRL level to sort of make it there, all of a sudden they do at State of Origin level. So that is the lineups. A little bit about my thoughts on the players that have been selected or on the selections. Billy Slater has been a great coach since coming in. I must admit, he's surprised me and probably a lot of people. He is able to get the best out of the men playing, and knows what he's doing, winning 2 in a row. For New South Wales, Michael Maguire, he's made some changes. He's certainly going with a different direction. We've got a new captain, although that was probably forced with Nathan Cleary out. The biggest sort of change of direction decision was James Tedesco. However, he's been forced to pick him back up again, which I actually think will pay off. And then in terms of odds or my tips, so the odds, it's a bit mixed, but Queensland are favourites. That's point number one. And then the average is about, New South Wales, let's just say they're paying about $2.08. Or whatever, and on averaging things out, Queensland would be around $1.70. Say, look, I don't know. I mean, Queensland have performed better in the last 2 years. We're back at Sydney, but I think my prediction based on the team list and the fact that it's in Sydney, I think there's a lot of unknowns. So I mean, it is a bit of a coin toss, but it's pretty hard to split the teams. I think they're pretty even. They would have been reasonably even without all the injuries as well. But Queensland, I feel like, have a bit more consistency with their lineup. To sort of split it, I would probably lean towards New South Wales being a home game for them. In terms of Clive Churchill medal winner, tends to go to the winning team. In terms of the player of the series, I don't know, it'd be funny to see James Tedesco do it, although I don't think he'll get through the next 2 games, but he could be the player of game 1. Nico Hines is one of the most consistent and consistent performers. He leads Daly M stuff. I don't know if his first game in starting. He's come off the bench for New South Wales. He's come off the bench for Queensland and Australia, and with mixed results. I think this really is his big opportunity to make a statement here. Clive Churchill medal winner the last 2 years, I think, has been a Ford. They're going to get through a ton of work. I think, was it Ruben Cotter last year? I don't know. Maybe if New South Wales win the series, say, which if they win game 1, let's just assume that they go on to do that, win game 2 in Melbourne perhaps. Suncorp's always going to be hard. Don't want to let it to get to that point. It would be either Payne Haas or Cameron McInnes, probably, in my opinion. I think Cameron McInnes could do that if he is the regular starting lock. Anyway, I'm going to do that. It's a bit of a smoky, Cameron McInnes. I don't know what the odds are, but why not? That would be a bit of fun. So anyway, thank you for that. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. It's going to be a hell of a good one. I can't wait. It's pretty hard watching from here in New Zealand. It's pretty late for us, but I will be watching it for sure. Enjoy, and who knows what's going to happen, but it will be good. Enjoy. Thanks for that.